If someone were to accidentally break a glass, or if someone helps a friend under pressure, can we call these actions moral or immoral? Dear friends, these are some of the questions that we may have in everyday life. What are moral? What are non-moral acts? Well, today we'll take a look at this main question. What are moral acts and what are non-moral acts? Because not every human action is moral, and to call an act moral and immoral, it must be done knowingly, freely, and intentionally. So let's look at what is a moral act. So, a moral act is a human action that can be judged as good or bad, right or wrong, based on certain moral conditions. Now, philosophers say is that an act is moral if it proceeds from knowledge, freedom, and intention. And therefore, these are the moral conditions that need to be fulfilled when we are judging any action as moral or immoral. Now, let us take a look at these three essential elements in a little bit detail. Now, first is the consciousness, or also what we can call as the knowledge or the awareness. Now, a person must know what they are doing in order for their act to have a moral value. For example, if an act is done without awareness, it cannot be called moral or immoral. It is simply a human event and not a moral act. For example, if you accidentally step on someone's foot, it is not a moral act because it was done unintentionally. However, if you step on somebody's foot, knowing that stepping on somebody's foot will accidentally hurt them, and you still do it deliberately, then it becomes a morally wrong act. So, what happens here is it is the consciousness or the awareness that distinguishes human actions from animal behavior or reflexes. For example, if a baby knocks over a cup of water, or if a baby just throws the food around, what do we call it? Is it morally wrong or not? Is it bad or not? Okay, so basically, you all may say that okay, a baby lacks awareness, a baby doesn't know what it is doing, hence, that particular action has no moral quality. Okay, since it is done without any awareness, we cannot kind of judge it as morally right or wrong. Why? It does not have any moral, so it has no moral quality. Next, what is also required is freedom or voluntariness. Now, a moral act must be done freely. That is, it should be by choice and it should not be under force, threat, or coercion. So therefore, we see that freedom gives a moral worth to an action. If a person has no control or choice, they cannot be held morally responsible. For example, a student cheating on an exam by choice, this is morally wrong. Why? Because it is free, that means he has the freedom either to copy or not to copy, and he is conscious, that is, he is aware that he is going to copy. For example, a person signing a false statement under threat. Okay, if somebody is forcing you to sign that, well, you are not fully responsible. Why? Because freedom is reduced. Thirdly, a person donating to charity out of genuine willingness. So is genuinely and willingly donating things to charity. This would be morally good. Why? Because it is done freely without any force and is doing it out of his freedom. So freedom and moral responsibility go together. So without freedom, morality loses its meaning. For example, if someone commits a crime while being forced by another, okay, who is morally responsible? Is it the doer? Is it the one who is forcing? Or is it both? So this is a question that we can probably reflect on. Okay, so if someone commits a crime while they are forced by another, so let's say somebody points a gun to you and tells you to commit a crime, maybe rob a bank or something. Now, are you responsible? Is the one who is forcing you, is that guy responsible, or are you both responsible? So reflect on it and do mention your answers in the comments. The third important element is intention. So intention behind an action is what gives that action a moral character. So even the same external action can be good or bad depending on why it was done. Okay, so for example, giving money to the poor, if you do it out of compassion, then it is good. For example, if you're doing it just to gain popularity, or if you're doing it for false praise, or just to get some social image or social recognition, then it becomes morally questionable. For example, speaking the truth. If it is to help somebody, it is good. If it is to embarrass or it is to hurt someone, then it is morally wrong. So, thus, ethics looks not only at what is done, but also why it is done. So, Aristotle said that moral virtue, in a way, depends on the intention and not merely the act itself. Okay, so as we saw in the examples, donating to charity, if it is done out of compassion, it is morally good. If it is done for self praise, well, we can question the act. Is it, morally right? Speaking the truth, it's morally good if you are helping somebody, but if you're doing it to embarrass or hurt someone, then it is morally wrong. Now, let's take a look at the non-moral acts. So we see that not all human actions will meet these three conditions. So you may find yourself in situations where you cannot judge between whether the person was aware or whether the person has done it out of freedom, or what was the intention. So there are some actions that fall outside the scope of ethics because they are non-moral acts. So what is a non-moral act? So a non-moral act is an action that is done without intention, awareness, or freedom. Therefore, you cannot morally judge it. Okay. Now, they may be either instinctive, that is driven by a biological impulse. It can be habitual, done automatically without thinking. It can be reflexive, immediate reaction. Okay, somebody raises the hand and you immediately catch the hand to stop the person from hitting you. It's a reflex. Or it can be compulsive, beyond your control. For example, blinking or sneezing, breathing, okay, or accidentally spilling water, or a reflex punch when somebody scares you, or yawning during a lecture. Okay, you don't want to be disrespectful, but you can't control the sleep and hence you yawn. So we see that these acts are human in a biological sense, but they are not moral in the ethical sense. Why? Because they lack the three essential features of consciousness, freedom, and intention. Therefore, let's reflect on this, and here are some questions which will help you to reflect. So, if a person lies in their sleep, Do you think it is a moral act? Now, if someone helps another person just for fame, can it still be considered a good act? Can an animal act morally? Okay, if you say yes, why? If you say no, why not? And what's an example of a moral act in your daily life that required both intention and freedom? So feel free to answer this in the comments as well, and we can take it up at a later stage and discuss it. Okay, so with this, we basically come to an end of this particular episode of moral and non-moral acts. Next time around, we'll be taking a look at some basics of ethics. Okay, so till then, live ethically, live practically, and continue doing good.